Well, good morning, everybody. Actually, I'm very pleased to be here, and thank you very much for the introduction. So before I start, I really want to tell you that I have chosen that picture because I love it. This is what CERN is all about. This does represent planet Earth, and it's actually what we call the globe of science and innovation. It is a fantastic outreach tool that we use because we work in the fields of science, physics, technologies, and that does also represent the applications of these different fields. So I'm very pleased to start with that, and I hope you will remember that photograph because it's a symbol. So, nice introduction to take you to CERN. CERN is an enormous organization. It's a scientific international organization. It is actually financed by 22 member states. Why is it that important? Because CERN is a consensus-driven organization. HR, the DG himself, or herself, actually, it's a woman, does not make decisions. It's always with a number of very important stakeholders, which I will describe later on. We were founded in '54. Why is it important? It means that we have over 60 years of existence, but it also means that we are a solid organization, that some of our people already have 30 years of experience in this organization. So if you think about that, is what do we do to keep them motivated? I mean, after 30 years of experience doing the same thing or similar roles, what can you do? How can they keep motivated? So that was also a challenge to which the project I will describe afterwards will talk about. And our population. The population is probably the biggest challenge that we have at CERN. It's composed of a lot of different categories of people. We do have staff. We do have 2,750 staff. We have thousands of doctorals, students, trainees, VIAs, all kinds of possible scholars. And we have an incredible population of people we call the users. The users are physicists that work in all around the world. They come to CERN. They are sometimes teachers, professors. They also work in the industry. And they are doing experiments, and they need to use CERN for its laboratory. Because the one thing I haven't yet said is that CERN is the largest world scientific laboratory in the world. We are a single-sited organization in Geneva. So all of these people are all in Geneva on the CERN site nearly every day. And all of them have access to the learning and development offer that we propose at CERN. So, before I start talking really about the nitty-gritty of this project, I have to tell you a little bit about the context, and I'm glad because between yesterday and today, I've heard in all the various presentations words and the challenges that actually we came across. No way to start a project like the career conversations without understanding the context. So at CERN, we do have a limited headcount. 2,750, that's the number I gave, no way we can go beyond. And this imposes also strict limitations on how people see their career after they leave CERN or just before they are promoted as well. The demographics is aging. As I said, we have over 60 years of existence. What does it mean? What do I do to keep motivated after I have done my job for a number of years? And we have an incredible culture that is leading us to build and deliver mostly internally. So that's not good news for all the consultants that are here, unfortunately, but we still work a lot with coaches and consultants, although they do not necessarily deliver on a regular basis. Everything we do has to be rigorous, well thought through, We have plenty of processes, all imagined not by the users, but by physicists and scientists. So they are incredibly complex, very useful. We actually designed our own learning management system. So that gives you an idea, and that was done more than 10 years ago. And anything we do, we need to do it once, twice, 3 times, 10 times, a minimum. So that's really about the culture. The other challenge, things we have to keep in mind, is obviously the focus we need to have on people. A few years ago, we had several surveys that described some sort of a change in the organization, and they also gave us the right data to think about the project that is about career conversations. We were entering a few years ago a real period of change, with a change in the contract policy, change in the new career structure, grid structure, and also the performance management. So we do have a rigorous, detailed, thought-through process of performance management, but we have little career support. And this is here we are with our beautiful project that I'm going to now talk to you about. In terms of challenges, you now have an idea of the context. I think we can categorize it again with 2 points. First, the complexity of the environment and the culture. We started really with convincing the hierarchy and the management about the importance and the necessity of having career conversations at CERN. That was possible because we had data. And as you've heard in the previous presentations, data is key in a scientific organization. Then it was about managing expectations from the key stakeholders. We are consensus-driven, which means we had to work closely with the staff association, with the management, and also with staff. We had to also think very carefully about the communication, make sure it's efficient, make sure we have a proper strategy, and make sure that we actually communicate at all levels. Equipping our HR sales force, our HR advisors, or BP as you want to call them, upskilling staff and supervisors, and we had a beautiful presentation just before, and delivering within a limited budget, because we are an international public organization financed by 22 member states. They want to know where the money is going. And we have a budget that is fixed in advance, and we have to give them, obviously, details about how we use it. Within all of this, the next challenge was, okay, we want to do a special project. We want to propose something about career conversations, how to position it, how to pitch it. Because we already have a performance management system. It's very rigorous. It doesn't bring everything we want. And we would like this project to look a bit different. So again, it was going through a very thoughtful and precise process. We needed to make sure that the organization and people would all get something, so a win-win situation. We knew that although it's not performance appraisal, it's got to be firm, it's got to be great, it's got to be detailed, so a solid process that would be driven by staff. So again, this initiative is a voluntary initiative. That's also a difference with the appraisal. And we had other details like the traceability of the conversations or the traceability of the development outcomes. The last category, I would say the second category for these challenges was obviously our population. So you have understood that we do have brilliant people working at CERN. We have Nobel Prizes. Every 4 or 5 years we get one. You see them in the cafeteria, you eat with them. So it's an incredible. How do you say to people who have this type of background that they need to have a career conversation? So put yourself in my shoes and you'll understand my problem. So in fact, it was, again, make sure that we propose something that is flexible, that is light, but also solid, detailed, well thought to these academic or highly technical people. And again, because we are talking to scientific people, no way we can have blah, blah. They want outcomes. They want us to talk true. They want results, deliverables. So making sure that anything we propose in the context of this conversation would be realistic, would not look like blah, blah. So we started with a definition. We kept it simple, a conversation. We also thought it's going to look at mid and long term. We're going to make sure that you're going to talk about personal and professional growth. We'll make it very flexible. All of that to keep your motivation and your performance at your best. So the key messages in the story were the initiative, the process got to be kicked by the staff member. It's got to be highly supported by the supervisor. And we have an incredible learning and development framework to prove that it is a solid process. The difference with the appraisal discussion is we actually put more weight in the content on the self-reflective part. So the framework looks like this. Obviously, we have the two main stakeholders, staff and supervisors. Both of them have to familiarize themselves with the process. Both of them have to do a great preparation, an important preparation, and both of them have to follow the workshop. Voluntary for the staff, mandatory for supervisor. That also was something we had to discuss during a few months. The framework has 4 steps. As from the minute the staff kicks off the process, then he goes to what we call the balance workshop. Balance because we use a tool that is about career, and that is called balance. Once this preparation has taken place, the focus conversation, as you say, we didn't call it necessarily career only. We called it several things in order to please all our populations. That was part of the deal. So focus conversation takes place between the staff and the supervisor. Then there's room after that conversation for actions, and then the monitoring period can start. The whole exercise lasts a minimum of 6 months. This is what we have planned. And if talking to the supervisor is not sufficient, then in this case, people can also go to their colleagues. They can go to their hierarchy, and they can also go to HR. So we have really opened the range of support and of help that people can need. In terms of resources, obviously, to accompany all of that during 6 months, L&D had to do quite a solid work. We did write guidelines. We also created a development roadmap. We co-designed and developed the workshop. And we obviously had a lot of communication on all the possible channels, the intranet, the learning hub, etc. And from this project, we had lots of success stories. And that was really a revelation, because people did realize that most of their beliefs, I want to be promoted, I want to be there or there, was not necessarily what they wanted. So it was also about helping them to clear their mind, to clarify their expectations, to see the glass half full, to open new horizons. So the outcomes were a little bit different from what we initially thought. This is the learning framework that we devised in order to make these outcomes realistic. So we used the theory of the 70-20-10, which was also mentioned yesterday in different presentations. I'm not going to talk about the 10 and the 20, but on the 70, you will find different initiatives that already existed at CERN, but were not that visible. So by mapping them like this, people thought, oh, yes, I could do that. I could have a different department role. I could go for internal mobility. I could do job shadowing, etc., etc. So this actually materialized the concept of these outcomes and reassured them that out from this conversation, there was something good and tangible. And my last slide will be about the key takeaways. So background, obviously an organizational need. We had data when we started. We also needed to build consensus and buy-in, so multiple consultations on the process, decoupling it from the performance management, a great communication effort, a realistic learning framework, making it a success project, launching 1 or 2 pilots. And for the people, we did realize that it was necessary to build the skills of the supervisors to create a trusting and a safe environment, and also have the appropriate behavior. Preparatory workshops that were delivered and prepared with legitimate and credible coaches and counselors. And then also insist on the preparation from staff and supervisors, and never underestimate the time investment. This project lasted 2 years. Thank you very much. Yeah, good. How do you get buy-in and consensus for global learning initiatives in such a decentralized organization? So first, it's a centralized organization that is very decentralized. That is the complexity. Well, that meant a minimum of a year and a half of meetings with the staff associations, with the management, go back and forth. The initial project is not the one I am presenting to you. The initial project was a beautiful theoretical project. It had everything a nice project, a nice HR project should have. But after my consultations with my physicists, my engineers, my technicians, administrators, this is what we have today. I tell you, it is still fantastic. It's even better because this is realistic.
Can I ask a follow-up question more or less on that? And I'm sorry because I actually came very late, so I don't know if you spoke about that. But
tell me.
I was actually interested because of that, because you're in an organization which is having very highly skilled people, very specialized, very well-educated people. And my question is, usually when you have what people usually call these geeks that know it all about technology, usually the soft skills are a little bit more tough to include as part of their development or to be accepted. Was there a path that you had to go through to make them aware about the importance of that balance between the knowledge and the how, etc.? Do you understand my question?
Absolutely, and you couldn't be more right. So actually, this famous workshop that kick-offs the process is all about soft skills, the importance of soft skills. And that's also why I actually stressed that it was more of a reflective exercise than an appraisal exercise. Because in that balanced workshop, we give a number of information on the fact, on behaviors, on active listening, on all these things that normally are, would say, better seen in another environment than in a scientific environment. So the workshops are really around this. And again, because these workshops have to be addressed first to people who have been a long time in the organization, normally they have done quite a number of workshops or trainings or e-learnings or whatever around soft skills. Thank you. So is there still any performance management at CERN? How does it not work? Yes, there's performance management at CERN. It works. We have 100% or nearly compliance because our salary grid is actually linked to performance appraisal. So everybody's got to complete it. It works, it's done, maybe not as a piece of art, or not as it could be done, it is done in other organizations. Sometimes it's maybe done by email, but let's not think about that and just keep to the letter saying, yes, it is done. How do you use data to make decisions about learning? Anything we do is based on data. That is the DNA of the organization. So again, making decision is never one body, it's always different bodies. And how we use data, anything we do starts with data. Any presentation I'm going to make will start with data and conclusions. So afterwards, they are very rational, my people, very logical. It's yes, no, yes, no. The gray area is not always there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. A round of applause. Excellent job.